I see myself as a real fighter when I face something that terrifies me, and I go for it regardless. Or when I hold my ground on my convictions, even if it's going to ruffle a few feathers. Or when I tune out to that chorus of shoulds and musts from everybody else and I follow my own path. And I break away from those long-held traditions. That's what badass is for me. So when we put badass into the badass list, then essentially it's a personal inventory of your achievements, whether they're big or whether they're small, but they're moments when you have felt utterly unstoppable. Well, hey everybody, and welcome back to the Impact Through Voice podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and today we're diving into something that hits home for a lot of us. I'm talking about those moments when you're about to do something which is uncomfortable or scary, and instead of jumping for joy, you freeze. You get caught up in the fear of all the reasons why you couldn't possibly do this. There's a voice in your head that's nagging and saying, who am I to do this? Or there are better, more qualified people out there. What if I fail? Or what if I make a fool of myself? People will judge me. But it's your own mind that is your biggest critic, making you question your own worth and your own abilities. Now, let's get real for a minute, because everybody experiences this. It's really a universal struggle, feeling like we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, or just plain enough to seize the chances that come our way. And for some, this voice is louder and more persistent than for others. I want to share a personal story that really puts this into perspective. Last weekend, I attended a TV presenter bootcamp. I'd seen it being advertised for a few weeks. I knew the owner, and part of me was thinking, wow, this looks like a really great opportunity to learn something new. Now, as much as I've basically lived my life on stage my entire career, and I've also been a guest in TV studios throughout my career, I'd not had much TV experience as such, and certainly not as a presenter. So that initial decision to sign up was already a bit of a challenge. I could hear my inner voice telling me, don't do it. Lisa, it's your weekend. It's expensive. Why would you want to learn to be on TV? You don't want to go into TV. Now, I could have listened to this voice, but there was another voice in my head saying, it's going to be a great experience. You've got loads of experience being on stage. That's your world. So you're going to crush it. Not to mention, you're going to learn new things, you're going to meet new people, and you're going to have a great time. And so I signed up. I didn't let that inner negative voice take over. But that wasn't the end of it. Walking into that room, you could feel the uncertainty hanging in the air. Okay, it's normal to have a bit of jitters and nervous excitement, especially when you're embarking on something brand new. But throughout the weekend, I heard comments from people who were really doubting themselves, doubting if they were good enough, attractive enough, young enough, had enough experience, or their voice wasn't good enough, or all the things that they perceived that a TV presenter needed to demonstrate or be or visually be. Most people said they were not there to become a TV presenter, and that was including myself. But as the event unfolded, you could sense these doubts becoming less and less as people became more confident in their skills and in themselves. We heard firsthand stories from TV presenters who are out there in the field doing it, their journey to get where they are, the mishaps and the real life experiences that they'd had along the way, and that many had only got into TV presenting later in life. So it made it real and it made it relatable and even reachable. Also, through learning new skills, observing others, and hearing these stories, the doubts started to fade and the confidence grew. Now, as the confidence grew, people literally started to transform from being the shy, withdrawn person that they were when they presented themselves on day one to a confident, outspoken person on day two. And by the end of the boot camp, the room was brimming with talented individuals who believed in their potential to shine on camera, whether they wanted to pursue this as a career or not. We all came out understanding the importance of showing up as you want the world to know you. And that was a really big takeaway. How do you want the world to perceive you? And we were encouraged to make sure that our social channels, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever you present yourself, really does represent you for who you are and what you want people to see you as. So, for example, if you're a TV presenter, which one of the people was who was speaking to us, when she first started out, her Instagram was nothing but images of herself, but nothing with her voice. And one day somebody said to her, "What, are you a model?" She's like, no, I'm a TV presenter. Well, your Instagram doesn't represent that because all it is images of you in fancy places. And so it was a bit of an eye-opener as well to make you realize and think about, how do you want the world to see you and how do you want to show up? And therefore, the importance of being good on camera and video could, not necessarily for you, be an important aspect to master. Now, I'm telling you this because doubting yourself is normal, and we all do it. But if we let that self-doubt turn into self-sabotage, then it can really hold us back from reaching our goals and our dreams. So how do we combat these feelings of doubt and self-sabotage? Well, I recently stumbled upon a gem of a book by Jen Gottlieb called Be Seen. In it, she shares a strategy that really struck a chord with me, something that she calls a badass list. And let me tell you, this was really powerful for me, especially. First of all, so what does the word badass mean? Well, if you think about it, it's probably quite an English expression. And if you look it up in the dictionary, you'll most likely find a range of different definitions, including things like tough, uncompromising, intimidating, and marches to their own drum. I couldn't find myself in a definition that talks about being intimidating, because I certainly don't want people to find me intimidating, but I could find myself in the idea of marching to my own drum. But what's important in the overall notion is that it's about being bold, about being courageous. And so in the end, I came up with my own definition. My take on the term is like this. I see myself as a real fighter when I face something that terrifies me, and I go for it regardless. Or when I hold my ground on my convictions, even if it's going to ruffle a few feathers. Or when I tune out to that chorus of shoulds and musts from everybody else and I follow my own path. And I break away from those long-held traditions. That's what badass is for me. So when we put badass into the badass list, then essentially it's a personal inventory of your achievements, whether they're big or whether they're small, but they're moments when you have felt utterly unstoppable. It's about cataloging those times when you've crushed it, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your career, or whether it's anywhere in between that. It's not just giving yourself a pat on the back. Oh, wow, you did well. It's a powerful tool to silence that inner critic and remind yourself of your worth, especially when you're feeling unworthy or you're doubting your own abilities. Now, bear in mind that the spirit of this exercise that I'm going to give you is to motivate yourself to remember what you are capable of. What does badass mean? And what does badass mean for you? Because your take on it might be different to mine and to somebody else's. So it needs to be personal. And I want you to take a moment to really think about that. And now, once you've done that, I want you to spend some time listing out 10 different times that you have been a badass in your life. Now, remember again, it's your definition of badass. And they could be moments from work, they could be areas of your life in your relationships, or just anywhere that you think you've done incredibly well and you're proud of yourself for achieving that. And then I want you to put that list somewhere where you can see it easily and look at it in the moments of self-doubt to remind yourself what you are capable of. Now, to give you an example, I'm going to share some of the items on my badass list. And it's not so that I can brag to you, but so that I can show you the power of acknowledging your own achievements. So here's some of the things that I have listed on my badass list. One of the ones is when I approached the organizers of the Dubai International Jazz Festival. And I was quite new to Dubai and I was pretty unknown here, but I believed in my own ability. And so I reached out to them and I had a meeting with the organizer and I put my act forward for the festival. I immediately was offered the gig with an advance payment to go and get flights booked for my band, who they then flew in from Belgium, put up, gave us an incredible weekend experience mingling with other stars and really high-profile people from the music industry. So that's one of my achievements that I am incredibly proud of, and I have to keep reminding myself of sometimes when I get a bit nervous, oh no, I can't approach that person. Hey, yes, you can. You've done it before. Look how you did it then. And now, what would be stopping you? Here's another one. Putting myself through musical theatre school. I funded my education by working as a secretary because it was something I really, really wanted to do. And I was committed and driven and prepared to really make those sacrifices of, working days, studying nights, and putting everything into what I wanted to achieve. When I moved to Europe as a performer, I was scouted by a London agent in Melbourne, and I was given an opportunity to go to Europe. Now, I was pretty nervous about going to a whole new country, and I could have said no, but I did it anyway. I invested not so long ago quite a significant sum into a mentor to learn new skills so that I could change my model of business and be in a position that I could really grow and scale that business. Now, that was something which was, again, quite scary for me because it was a very big investment and I had no guarantees. But I swallowed. Of course, I did my research and I did it anyway, and it paid off big time. And I've got lots more. Taking on my very first professional speaking gig, even though I had never spoken on stage before. I had sung on stage, but I had never spoken on stage other than between songs. And so I took on an opportunity to speak as a keynote speaker at an event. And so I had to believe in myself enough to know that I could go out there. There'd be other speakers on that stage as well, sharing their expertise. And I had the doubts, who am I to get up there and speak alongside these incredibly well-known speakers? But I did it and I crushed it. So there are just a few of the examples of mine. Another one, I'll just add this one in as well, is starting my podcast and putting the work in, not believing or listening to the critic in my head saying, oh, there's so many podcasts out there, Lisa. Why would your podcast be able to shine and get interest? But I did it. And I'm super proud because we were ranking in the charts within the first 3 weeks of releasing this podcast. So thank you also to all of you who are listening now because you have been supporting the show. So I want you to go ahead and write your list. You don't have to do it right now, but make sure that you do it after listening to this podcast. Get inspired, get a piece of paper, and write out all the things that you have achieved for yourself, what you consider to be your badass achievement in your life, and write it down. Once you've done that, I want you to choose 3 entries from that list that really resonate with you. Now, they might be something recent or something particularly daunting that you overcame, or maybe an experience that just gave you huge satisfaction. Whatever the reason, these are the ones that really stand out to you. And for each of these entries, I want you to reflect on the circumstances of that specific moment. And then ask yourself this question: how did I muster the bravery, the courage to take that leap and accomplish this task? I'm going to say that again. How did I muster the courage to take that leap and accomplish that task? It could be that the context demanded action and you realized the consequences of stepping up were far more manageable than the consequences of standing still. Maybe you just needed a brief moment of boldness to push through. Or maybe you had a motivational chat with somebody who was close to you and they provided you with the necessary encouragement to achieve that. The essence of this exercise is to acknowledge that you possess all the necessary resources within you to confront and conquer your fear or your unease, nervousness, and to carry out the task that you need to carry out. This recognition is really crucial because when you're faced with similar situations in the future, then you're going to know exactly how to re-engage with these inner strengths that you possess. Now, it's not just enough to make the list. You also have to use it. And you have to keep it updated with every new achievement, no matter how small it might seem. And now store it somewhere where you can see it. You could have it on your phone. You could have it as your screensaver on your phone. Put it in a journal. Have it on your fridge. Put it behind the toilet door, on your mirror in the morning when you're getting ready. Whenever you're facing a new challenge or those doubts start to creep in, take a look at that badass list. It's like a personal pep talk that reminds you of everything that you've already accomplished and that you have the strength to tackle whatever is going to come next. So to wrap it up, remember that doubting yourself is a part of being human, but don't let it hold you back. Start building your badass list today and watch as it transforms your confidence and your approach to these newfound challenges. And if you're looking for more inspiration, then definitely go check out Jen Gottlieb's book, Be Seen. It's packed with valuable advice to help you to step into the spotlight and own your worth. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're walking away feeling a bit more ready to face the world with your own badass list in your hand. Until next time, keep pushing forward and remember, you're more capable than you think. I'll catch you in the next episode where we're going to dive into more ways to unlock your potential and achieve your dreams. Stay awesome, everybody.